What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Guarani Vision, the first ever podcast dedicated to Paraguayan football in English. As always, I'm Roberto Rojas, and joining me is my great co-host, Fede Perez, and here we are, a new month. We're in May, finally, guys. We're here in May. It is finally May here in the world, in Guarani Vision. Obviously, we got a month left in kind of the major European season before we get right into, obviously, the competition that is the Copa America. It's hard to believe that we're already right there, a month away. And yeah, obviously, we still have a few games to obviously look at in terms of the Libertadores, the Sudamericana, what's going to happen in the Paraguayan League and the Apertura before the kind of the break, you would say. And we still don't have a champion. And today might be a big game as we, at the time of recording, we're speaking on the day that Cerro Porteño will be hosting Libertad in the Apertura. And given the results that we've had, Fede, but before I introduce you, it's shaping up in a way that we wanted. We wanted this kind of like race because we've been debating here about like whether or not we should talk about it more because of how Libertad had been running away with it. But we did see some results happen, meaning that heading into this game today against Cerro Porteño and Libertad, it's a big one. It's a big one, and it's. I think right here we have the potential champion between one of these two because I don't see any other team really going for it as well. But Fede, man, how are you? Might as well introduce you there first before we get started.
Yeah, it's just you and me today, Roberto. So it's great to be back. It's great to see you one more time. And obviously, everybody that's following us on Guarani Vision, be it on your podcast, be it on YouTube, be it wherever you follow us. It's great to have you with us. Obviously, talk about our Paraguayan football, and the tournament just got great, Roberto. You were saying May is here. We're almost a month away from the Copa America, and I'm thinking so many things are going to happen during May. I mean, everything is going to be decided. The title, the Apertura title, the Sudamericana for most teams are the team's going to keep on playing Sudamericana after the Copa America, or they're going to be thinking only on the local league and Libertadores. We got two teams that really aiming to try to qualify out of the group stage, and they're having a rough time in that situation. Libertad and Cerro Porteño. We got to predict and talk about everything that could happen next week as they head into their games. But it was a very interesting week actually here in Paraguay with no Libertadores, no Sudamericana games, pretty much no local games happening midweek. But we did have like a holiday right in the middle, Labor Day, which is I think a holiday that's pretty much celebrated around the world. But it's got a special thing here, Roberto. A lot of people stop. Like the whole country pretty much stops on that day. Everybody with an asado at home, barbecues. Everybody had like a chill week in that sense, right in the middle, right on the on Wednesday, and then we had a huge storm on Thursday, which is something that's actually going to affect what's happening on the games on this Friday. Because as you were mentioning off the air, we do have a huge concert happening here in Paraguay, and it is going to happen also in an important football stadium, which is Cerro Porteño's ground. The thing is that as Carol G was supposed to have her concert on Thursday, and now it's going to happen on Friday due to that huge storm that I was mentioning. So this is going to affect Nacional and Luqueño's game because Nacional was supposed to play right next to Cerro Porteño Stadium, and the police say we cannot take care of this game. So the Nacional is going to play against Sportivo Luqueño, but with no fans on the stands because of Carol G's concert. Those are kind of things that happen in Paraguayan football, Roberto. I just wanted to throw it out there because it is totally out of context, but those are things that do happen in our weird country. As for the title race, I'm really looking forward, obviously, to watching this huge game. It is probably the game of the season, right? Cerro Porteño, Libertad playing at home actually against Cerro Porteño. Libertad that has not looked well in these last couple of games. In Libertadores at home, playing in the local league either. They lost their first game against Dos de Mayo in Pedro Juan Caballero last weekend, and that gave the opportunity to Cerro Porteño to catch up. The team that could not catch up was Olimpia. It was really weird to see that. So many people on the stands to support the team to get that opportunity to also get close to Libertad. But no, it was only Cerro Porteño, and Cerro Porteño has the opportunity to also, for the first time since the tournament has actually started, they got the opportunity to catch up to Libertad. Let's see if they could do it, Roberto. That's the big challenge for them.
It's a big one. It's a big one because not only looking at the stands right now, Libertad are obviously, well, we're going to go into discussion now. Libertad are right now in first place with 32 points, but right behind them is Cerro Porteño with 29. But the big one, Fede, here, the goal difference. The goal difference, Libertad with plus 15, Cerro Porteño plus 14. So a result not only helps Cerro Porteño catch up to Libertad, but they can even pass them if it goes into that position as well, Fede. So it's a huge game for both these two teams. And like I said before, I think this ultimately decides the title here. I think, if Libertad do win this game, I think we have our Apertura champion. But if Cerro do win, and we still have a couple of weeks left until the end of the season, we have, I think six, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. That can go all the way. And for Cerro's case, the way that they've been playing under Manolo, the new manager, they need that because it's been a rough start for them. They kind of had this kind of fear of what's going to happen, that, even losing their focus in the Libertadores has been going badly, but they're able to get a win today. I think that really changes a lot of things for them. And I think for Cerro's case, they have to get this win. It's a bigger obligation, and it's for them to understand how serious they are to win this Apertura. It's been a while.
Yeah,
It's been a while since they won it.
Libertad has been cruising. I mean, we've been saying this pretty much on every podcast ever since the Apertura started. Nobody has been giving them any trouble, and it's only been Cerro Porteño ever since Manolo Jimenez took over. The coach has been really important in the sense to get this winning streak and to get the team rolling and playing the way that fans wanted to see it. Also, I mean, we're talking about a team that scored 4 goals, I believe, in this last game. So this team is really showing some firepower. I mean, they've been scoring. Everybody's been scoring lately. Everybody has been individually giving way more to the team also. And I do think that that's also on the staff. I mean, getting the best out of your players. We were not seeing that with other coaches. And you're seeing the team spirit, and you're seeing everybody really focus on what Cerro Porteño has to do in Libertadores and also in the local league. So I'm seeing that players are really into the game. They don't get away from it. We're not seeing any weird discussions happening. I mean, even the atmosphere, the locker atmosphere, seems really well in that sense. And it's also on Manolo Jimenez. I mean, this is a coach that did it in Europe, and this is what I was actually expecting from him. A very professional kind of work, and he's done it really well so far, and he could do it with a bigger impact if he takes the league away from Libertad. I mean, this is something that no one has been able to do these last couple of years, especially nobody in Cerro Porteño, because Cerro Porteño has been the team that has always been giving Libertad a run for their money. It's only been them, but on these special games, on the head-to-head games, this is the milestone that Cerro has not been able to go through, and now they're going to play again at Libertad's ground, and that's not a comfortable place to play for the away team. So, if you're asking for my honest opinion, I do think Libertad is going to get their win again, or maybe even a tie. I don't know why I think Libertad could be satisfied with a tie against Cerro Porteño. Cerro still has the Super Clásico in just a couple of games. Also, they got to play Olimpia. That's always a very important game. Olimpia needs to fix this year somehow, and I do think the only opportunity they have to now, as they are not running for the title, as they ran far behind after losing to Ameliano at home. You're thinking the only way that team can save the year is winning against Cerro Porteño, beating in the Super Clásico their arch rival, and do it in Cerro Porteño's ground. I mean, that would be the only big game they still have in the calendar. And for Cerro is winning and winning. They don't have another thing that they can do from here until the end of May. They need to get a run also in the Libertadores. Their head's going to be kind of in two places, I believe, and they might have trouble in certain games. I do think Libertad still have uh, a certain advantage in that sense, Roberto. Even though we're seeing a team that's having problems, we saw it against River, the way they handled the game, the way they tried to resolve it and ended up losing it, the way they did not score absolutely anything against Dos de Mayo, even though they played with so many forwards. Galeano throwing everything out there to try to get something out of a game that was already down 2 goals. I mean, it was ugly to see that game from Libertad and to see this kind of meltdown. from such a young coach. Also, there's a lot of doubts around what's happening with him and the way he's handling these very important games. So it's now or never. It's crunch time. I love these kind of games, Roberto, and this one feels like a final between Cerro Porteño and Libertad. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's more to play for Cedro's case. I think they're the one that kind of feel as if though they need to get the win. I think for Libertad's case, yes, while they do want to go with this game with the mentality of going to win, they know that even a draw would do them well. But it's like you said as well, they've kind of slipped up already. Who's to say they can't do it again? They still, like I said, there's still 6 weeks left. Even if a draw does occur, all right, so that cuts the gap to 4 points, and then they drop other points instead, or just continue to win. That's the thing. What happens there? What can Ariel Galeano do? Because that's something that I think, like you said, that's the biggest question that we have. Can he do it in the biggest moments? We kind of have to see what he can do in the Libertadores, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I think for him, in his best case, is to understand that if he is going to be the best young coach in Paraguay, and maybe even all of South America at the moment, he's going to have to get these results and to grind it in a way that, for him, that no team can do it better than he does. And for the sake of also Cerro Porteño, I mean, look, they haven't won a title since 2021. That's 5 seasons ago. It's a long time for a team like Cerro Porteño, who have always been accustomed to winning. So that if they don't go again and they now go into a 6th season without winning anything, and yeah, they've been close. They've gotten unlucky too. They've had like that record amount of points and they didn't win the league. Any other season, they would have done it. But now the case is that they need to do it in this case, and they do it against the Libertad side that, in a way, Fede, I think is losing steam. Like you said, I think if they're going to do it, they might as well do it against a team that is not the strongest as it was beforehand. Still one of the best teams, still the best team, I think, right now. But ultimately, I think getting the result that they need in the way that they were playing, I think it's necessary for them to get all 3 points today, no matter how they do it, but they have to get it done.
I'm gonna question that because as of right now, I think the best team is actually Cerro Porteño under Manolo Jimenez. I'm really seeing an evolution from this team. I'm seeing players stand out. I mean, Pachi Carrizo coming through, even though he's mostly a sub. That midfield, even though yeah, you lost Jorge Morel now, but Piris da Mota is playing and killing it really in that midfield. You got other players standing out, like even Fernando Fernandez. I mean, this is a player that nobody even thought that was going to play in Cerro Porteño this year. And he's actually getting game time as one of the forwards constantly now under Jimenez. And even though he's not the starter is Turin. And maybe the second forward is Edu, and maybe the third one is Fernando Fernandez. But he's getting game time. Everybody's getting an opportunity to play, and even the young players are standing out. I mean, he's getting constantly game time to Aguayo. This is somebody we've already mentioned. Gabriel Aguayo, probably the young star that has come through. And look at that, Roberto. I mean, if he has a big game in against Libertad or against Olimpia in the Super Clásico, we might even be talking not only about the biggest new name in Paraguayan football, but maybe the star of the tournament, because I think the tournament is still kind of looking for that MVP. Even Libertad, Cerro Porteño, I'm still looking for that bright player that's making the difference. Cecilio has had a good run, but he hasn't been constant. Iturbe is in and out of the team. But you have other players that are really standing out. Santiago Arzamendia also. I mean, Cerro Porteño right now, I think, has players that are better physically and 100% for what is coming up for them, because the coach has been able to rotate them correctly. And Galeano has a lot of players that are really tired and that are not showing 100%. The other day, he put Alex Silva in that midfield, and Alex Silva did not look good. Alex Silva has barely played all this year, and he came from Olympia, playing last year in a big team, and you thought, okay, Libertad is set in that sense. If they need a player in the midfield, they're just going to put Alex Silva and everything's going to be all right. And when they needed him in a big game against Dos de Mayo, playing against the team that barely loses at home, he had a really bad game. And this is just to throw one out of many examples that didn't work out for Libertad in this last match. So things are not looking well in that sense for Libertad. They rotate players, but they're not getting the results they wanted. And Cerro is not having that problem. The coach is rotating, and everything's working out just well for them.
So you're saying Libertad gets the win today, then? That's your prediction. You think that Cerro, in a way, they can't sneak it and they can't make this race an interesting one.
I'm thinking a tie. I think a tie is a good result also for Libertad. And I don't think Cerro, they have not been able to get a win in Libertad's ground in so long. Olimpia hasn't been able to get it either. So the big teams, every time they go to Libertad's ground, they're not getting the results. I would not expect it to be different this time around, even though of what Libertad is going through. So I'm sticking with Libertad, Roberto. I think your number one candidate is still the number one candidate in this Apertura race.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so as well. I think as much as I want Cedro to be back in this race as a fan, I don't see it happening. I think I also predict a draw. I'll say 1-1 because I think Libertad, they are so good at home. The Cedro form that they're in, yes, it's great and it's nice to see, but eventually it always feels like it's going to come to an end. And if it's going to come to an end, it's going to be against the best team, in my opinion, of Paraguay at the minute. So I'll say a draw on this one. And I wanted to ask before we switch gears is about Olimpia, because obviously they've kind of gotten some critics, and you were actually at the ground because there was some news being made. We'll talk about the result in a bit, but there was some news happening at Paraúna that was a big celebration for them, and one that for them, they could feel more excited about that rather than how the results have been for the team.
You know, three special atmospheres I've been to, or three special games with a lot of fans that I've been to this year. One, and I think they all happened this week. I mean, one was River against Libertad. I never saw so many Libertad fans turn out, and so many River fans coming to a game like that one in Libertadores after they had lost to Boca Juniors in their local league. So that was a great game also, atmosphere-wise in Defensores del Chaco. And the other one was probably Cerro Porteño playing against Fluminense just a couple of days ago, also in Cerro Porteño's stadium. But that game started kind of early, so a lot of people weren't at their seats. They weren't at their place at the right time when the game started. People were still coming in. But for this Olympia game, people were not expecting for their team to play at home, Roberto. It was kind of like a late call. It was a late decision made by their president. They wanted for the people. They wanted for their fans to be at the stadium and get an opportunity to say kind of a goodbye to this old stadium that's now gonna look even better by November. That's what Olympia is saying, that they're gonna have pretty much a brand new stadium by November. It's gonna be for about 15,000 people in first place. No, I'm lying. 32,000 people, and then they'll take it up to 42,000 in the second part or the second stage of the project that they're gonna develop. Thanks. Thanks also to the Dominguez family, which donated so much money. More than $7 million will be put into this new stadium that Olympia is going to start building now. But that atmosphere, I mean, Olympia had everything. The players were feeling like back at home. They had not played a single game in that stadium all year long, and everything was set up for Olympia to have that big game. Libertad had already played. Cerro had already done their job of catching up to Libertad, and Olympia had to do it, but against Ameliano. And Ameliano has been that dark shadow for them, not only this season, but last season also. These last couple of years, I mean, every time an Olympia fan see an Ameliano jersey, they get kind of scared or they don't know what's going to happen. But something bad always happens to them. They lost against this team in Sudamericana, and they lost again to this team, Roberto, with just a single goal scored from Ameliano. But Ameliano's looking good under Pedro Sarabia. They look very well organized. They really were cool on that field. They did not have any problems, and Olympia did pretty much nothing. And I'm questioning everything that Palermo is doing as of right now. I mean, this coach has been here for what, 3 months now, and he doesn't know pretty much anything of what's going on with his team. He hasn't been able to fix the defense. The midfield is not producing any football. You don't know who's going to play in that midfield. Arrua has come in these last couple of games, but he's not the playmaker. Derlis Gonzalez never came back to his top form. He needed to be the star of this team this semester, and he was a sub the other day against Ameliano. Ended up coming in those last 20 minutes trying to do something, but the atmosphere, that great atmosphere that I was talking about, was totally negative after Emiliano was winning pretty much the whole game, and Olimpia did not produce anything. They barely had any opportunities, Roberto, and that's the thing with Olimpia. It looks like it's pretty much over for them, like maybe even the year, I would say, because it does not look like they have enough to win a championship or to even make a winning campaign. I mean, as of right now, everybody's doubting everything. What Palermo's doing, what the front office is doing, and even the players. Do we have good players? Do we have anything to give to our fans? I mean, Olimpia has not won any big games this year, and they are third, fourth place lately, trying to fight it there with Dos de Mayo. They look like their season is only headed into if they can get into the Libertadores for 2025, because they do not look like a championship team. And I've said this before.
The Sudamericana elimination really got to them. That really like messed up a lot of their plans when they lost to, ironically, Ameliano, the team that's kind of gotten their number as of recently. So yeah, I mean it's been bad. I mean, do you see it improving? Because like you said, I think this year it's done for them.
I think Palermo should have left this team probably a month ago, but he got a couple of lucky wins and his situation has gotten this far. So now it's a matter of, do you stick with the coach until the end of the season? Do you let him go and try to get another coach? Because players you're not going to be able to pick up. Olympia cannot sign players. They still got that financial problem on their shoulders. So it's, you only have these players. So you need a really good coach to take the best out of these really, I don't want to say bad players, but players that are not performing. I think that's the question right now. I mean, is Palermo the right guy to pick this team up? Because the players, Olympia started that second half, and who do you have in that bench to come in and try to make the difference? It was Hugo Fernandez. Olympia does not have enough. Olympia does not have players that can really fix problems, that can really solve solutions. And then you have so many injuries. I mean, we make a list and it's about 10 injuries in every single game. Olympia is losing a player. The last one is Saul Salcedo. It looked like he was coming back to his best shape, even though his team uh, is always having problems in defense. But at least he was getting constantly game time, and now he got injured. Richard Ortiz in the midfield. Dennis Gonzalez has never coming back. Bruera. I mean, the list goes on and on, Roberto, with the injuries. That's also something to be said. Palermo, ever since he's been the coach of Olympia, he's never had the full roster, even though it's not a really good roster. He's never had it fully healthy since he became the coach.
It's not looking good for them. It really is not looking good for them, and I think it's going to be even worse if they don't get it on the right shape with Martin Palermo as the head coach. As we switch gears now to really cancel it, not cancel it, to close it out with what's going on with the Libertadores and Sudamericana, because they are back. It is back this time around next week at the time of recording, and we have some big games that really are going to affect the future. We spoke about this last week with Ralph, where we kind of decided that a lot of these teams, Fede, are really either in a good spot, very close, or are out of the Copa Libertadores or Sudamericana. So I want to pose that question to you. We'll start with the Libertadores. We got Cerro Porteño taking on, or going, I should say, to Lima, heading to take on Alianza Lima, the team that is in last place at the time of recording. They are in third place with 4 points, just right below Colo-Colo for that second place spot in the round of 16, led by Fluminense with 5 points after that 0-0 draw that they had at La Nueva Olla. I say that they still have a chance to do it. I think they could still make the round of 16. I think a win against Alianza Lima, I think they will do it, will affect them tremendously. So I want your thoughts. Do you feel as if those Cedros still have this chance of qualifying to the round of 16? Do you have that belief?
Yeah, totally. Even I would aim for a tie, maybe against Alianza. I mean, I think the big match is going to be against Colo Colo here at home. So I think you got 2 games ahead of you where you can still fight your opportunity to qualify to the next round. So yes, I'm totally feeling good about this team, Roberto. Like I said it before, they look a lot better. And under Manolo Jimenez, I got my faith on them. So I do think they're going to get through Alianza Lima, and even Colo Colo. I think they're going to beat Colo Colo. I'm getting ahead of myself, I know, but a tie against Alianza Lima and a win against Colo Colo, that's what I think is going to happen with Cerro Porteño.
Interesting. Okay, you're going right there with the predictions already. I didn't even go that far yet because I wanted to see what happened against Alianza. But yeah, go for it. You got yours. For Libertad. Libertad right now, after the loss against River Plate over the Defensores, they are currently in third place with 3 points, 3 points behind Nacional of Uruguay, who are in the final round of 16 spot in second place, and River leading the way with 9 points, still unbeaten. They have to go to Táchira. They have to go to San Cristobal and to get the results that they need. And yeah, same question to you. Do you feel as though Libertad have enough to qualify to the round of 16?
I have my doubts on this team right now, Roberto. I mean, this is a team that I thought was aiming for the semifinals of the Libertadores, but after seeing the way this team pulled through against River, that was their big opportunity to win a huge game in the Libertadores and make a name for themselves, show that they're here this year to make something happen. And they didn't pull through. They ended up losing the game. And I think even Nacional is looking better as of right now in that group than what Libertad has brought so far to the table. They're gonna win, I think, in Venezuela, even though they're gonna have a lot of players that are gonna be really tired after this Cerro Porteño game. And they're gonna have to make that flight to Venezuela. That's probably the the furthest you can go from here from Paraguay to play in this competition in Libertadores. So it's not gonna be easy in that sense. But I do think they're gonna get the win against Táchira, and the big game is gonna be against Nacional, and that's where we're gonna talk about in a couple of days because I want to see how Libertad does in these two very important games, Cerro and then Táchira, crucial games for Libertad and for Galeano's future also.
Yeah, big one for both, the team and the future of the manager as well. As we switch gears to the Sudamericana to close it out. Obviously, we'll start first with Trinidense. Trinidense, ironically enough, are still in a good position. They got a really important win against Nacional Potosí. They have to host Boca Juniors at La Nueva Olla in a couple of days. Then they have to go to Bolivia. Then they have to finish it off at the Castelao in Fortaleza. Right now, they're with 3 points, 1 point behind Boca Juniors in the final knockout round playoff. Who would have expected Boca to be in this position? Fortaleza still perfect with 3 points. They look like they're going to qualify, but can Trinidad do it? Can Trinidad shock all of South America and knock out Boca Juniors to go to that knockout round playoff spot?
Boca lost a very important game against Fortaleza. They looked really bad in that game. They lost against Estudiantes in their local league in penalties. So pretty much all they got is this game against Trinidad, Roberto. They're gonna come in with that.
They barely also beat Trinidad over there La Bombonera, where they were
I
expected to
was
win very well.
I was I was gonna get to that. I was gonna get to saying that Trinidense was actually very close to even beating Boca in the Bombonera if it wasn't for the ref. Hopefully they don't have the ref by their side again here in Asuncion. And hopefully Trinidense does have a really good game because I do think this team is kind of picking it up. Finally, after having a rough start, I do think players are getting healthy. They're getting the rhythm. They're getting to know each other a little bit better. The new players I'm talking about in Trinidense, and I'm seeing really good games from this team. I'm seeing this team focused, and Jose Arrua, after having a shaky start, he's looking like he's getting his pieces together. This is going to be the game, Roberto. I think Trinidense can do it, and they're going to shock South American football by beating Boca Juniors. I'm going with this one. This is my pick of the week.
And why is that? I'm curious. Why do you feel as if though this is the result that would shock all of South America? Because that's a big one. That's a huge one to go.
Because the first time around they faced each other in Bombonera, I mean, Boca pretty much put their second team on because they had just played against a River and they were kind of tired. But everybody's going to play in this game. I expect Cavani to be there. I expected all the whole starting team to be there, but especially the pressure is going to be on them. And I think Trinidad is going to feel just comfortable playing on the counter attack and just waiting for this team, and I think they're gonna do the damage at the right time. I think this is a very smart team with the coach that's gonna pull through with the right strategy, and they're waiting for a game like this one. They were very close to do it at the Bombonera. They already know the feeling about playing against a big team like Boca, and now they're gonna go for that final blow, Roberto. And Chinidense can still fight this group. That's what I'm loving about the situation. These are big games for our teams.
They're really big games. They're really big games. Another big game that's going to be happening will be going to Sportivo Almeliano, the team that we've been mentioning already. They're in a good spot. They went to Venezuela. They went to Caracas. They put 4 against Rayo Zuliano. Now they have to host Danubio, the team that's kind of really catching up to them right now as we speak. Portillo Arellano are in the position to qualify to the knockout round playoff. They obviously are right behind Paranaense, who are also unbeaten after 3 games. They look like they're going to go to the round of 16. Rayo Zuliano with 0 points. I mean, same question. How do you feel about this Portillo Arellano? Because I think the game against Danubio, I think that's going to decide it. That's going to decide if they can qualify to the knockout round.
That's going to be a fight in the mud, I believe, against the Uruguay. I mean, they're going to fight their heads off also to try to get that second spot. I mean, these are two very good teams from what I've seen in this group, and Emiliano has kind of evolved. Just like I was saying, they're coming off probably the best week after winning in Venezuela, scoring so many goals, and then beating Olimpia at their home ground. Obviously, the players are feeling their best right now. Hopefully, they can carry that on against Danubio and get another win. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm looking at a tie in this game. I don't know why. I want to give my hope to Emiliano, but I think it's going to be a tie between Emiliano and Danubio, Robert.
Let's see what happens there, as we have two teams that are also hanging by a thread, a very, very small chance of them being able to do it. We'll talk about first about Nacional. Nacional are still without a win. They got a draw against Racing, but obviously not the result that they wanted after they were winning against Racing of Uruguay. 2-2 draw with the Defensores. They now have to host Corinthians this week, and then head to Uruguay, and then head to Buenos Aires to take on Argentinos Juniors. They are currently in last place with 1 point, 4 points behind Racing who have 5 points, and then 3 points below Corinthians in third place to Argentinos Juniors first place with 6 points. So is it over for Nacional? Do you have any hope for them?
No, it really feels like it's over for Nacional. I mean, they have never looked like a team that can do anything in this group phase, even though Bernay, ever since he took over, he's been trying to fix certain problems of the team. I do think he's been putting in better players, players that are in shape, players that can perform, players that can make a difference lately. I think he's making the right calls in who he's putting in the starting team, but he's barely having any time between matches, between games to really practice, to have practices with the players, to really work on the team. So I don't think they have enough, especially in this game against Corinthians. This is the team that really outplayed them. This is the team that scored the most goals on them so far in the group stage. So no, I think Corinthians is going to get it, Roberto, and I'm not expecting much from Nacional in the Sudamericana. I think their heads needs to be exclusively on the Apertura because they're really falling behind.
I think the same could also be said about Sportivo Luqueño, which is kind of disappointing given how much, kind of hype that we've given them, you, Ralph, and myself, towards them. They are the only team to not win a single game so far in either international competitions from all the Paraguayan teams. 0 points, 3 points behind Coquimbo Unido, 6 behind Red Bull Bragantino in that knockout round playoff spot, and then 9 over the top team, Racing. So for them, I think it's a similar case for them that they need to focus on something else. I think their Sudamericana dream is over.
I do think the Sudamericana dream is over, but I do think they need to give their fans a win. They need to give their fans something in the Sudamericana. And let's not forget that for players also, there is a financial situation when they win a Sudamericana game. They do get a big prize for them money-wise. So I do think they're going to aim for the win. They kind of need to lift up their heads. And I'm actually thinking that Luqueño can pull it off this time around, playing at home and finally give their fans a win. They deserve it. They have not done well. We thought that they were going to have a really good season because they looked that way at the beginning, but this team has let them down so far in these very important games. So the Sudamericana dream is over, but I do think Luqueño is going to pull through. I think they're going to win this Coquimbo game.
Yeah, I think they definitely need that one for themselves and for all this morale boost for Paraguayan teams, as we obviously look forward to a big weekend here, a big week for Paraguayan teams in the Copa Libertadores and Sudamericanas. We'll give you all that updated stuff next week on our next episode of Guarani Vision. For myself, Roberto Rojas, and Fede Perez, thank you so much for listening in. See you soon.